A question that I get very often is, does observing a negative feeling or a negative emotion, a negative sensation, does it attract more of the same feelings and emotions and experiences to you? This doubt and question arises because we've been told what you focus on grows. What you focus on, you flow life energy towards. So this misunderstanding arises when you're now asked to observe your emotions rather than reacting to them and reacting as them. So this question arises, but I thought what you focus on grows. So why would I want to focus on my negative emotions and feelings? I don't want them to grow. I don't want to attract further experiences and emotions like this one. So what I would like to convey to you in today's video, in a very experiential way, I want to walk you through it step by step, that when you observe something, when you plainly observe without judgment, without interpretation, you do not add to the momentum of that particular thing. You do not feed into that particular thing, but rather it almost acts as a healing presence, a neutralizing force, which brings back to harmony whatever is being observed. So let's start here. When you observe a feeling, let's say anger or fear, I want you to first understand that you're observing from a place of zero. That which is observing, that which is aware of the fear, is not itself afraid. That which is aware of the anger is not itself angry. This is a massive discovery in this practice, which right now maybe connects to you on a mental level, but this has to be seen through experience and practice. That which is aware, that which is observing, in other words, me, am not what I am observing. I am not afraid. I can observe the anger, yet I am not angry. So we are observing from a place of zero. No movement, no momentum, no relationship to what is being observed. The observation is itself the ground in which what appears plays its little life out and then subsides back into the very observation, back into the place of zero. So when, let's say, you're experiencing the angry feeling or the uncomfortable sensation or emotion, or even a negative experience, but you start to judge it, describe it, resist it, you are adding to the momentum of that particular experience. Through your very judging, through your very story making about what is arising, about what is being experienced, you add to the momentum of it. So when you are constantly judging and interpreting and describing in a sort of positive way, you are adding to the positive momentum of that. When you are judging and describing in a negative way, you are adding to the negative momentum of that. In that way, when you focus on something through thinking, so you see, when you think about something in a negative way, you're that's where that teaching is more so relevant, that you're sort of filtering your experience through that filter of negative perception, negative belief about what is being experienced. And you will continue to see, you will continue to experience more and more the filter that is being imposed on your experience. Almost like wearing red goggles. And now you say the world is red, but the world is not red. It will only appear to be red so long as you have the red goggles on. So our story making, our judgment and our interpretation, our description, which is a constant mental dialogue through which we filter our experience, is like that lens of perception. It becomes that filter, which now what we experience, we say it's like this and that, but actually it appears to be this and that based on our filter, our goggles. So in this way, when you're constantly filtering through things through your negative lens of perception, all you will attract to yourself, or otherwise, all that you will continue to experience will be in accordance, in alignment with your filter. Same goes with the positive side of things. Now, when you come to this teaching, when you're asked to observe, this has nothing to do, this transcends both the positive filter and the negative filter. It actually removes the filter entirely. The filter is made up of your constant mental dialogue, which feeds into your belief systems and so on and so forth. And to keep the filter on, to keep the goggles on, this mental dialogue, this constant judging of experience, interpreting of experience, it has to go on. Perhaps even notice right now, the mind is sometimes you're not just able to listen, but rather you're constantly interpreting what is being said through the filter of what you've heard in the past and so on and so forth. You're judging, where could this information get me? If this is good or bad? Is this in alignment with my view or not? I don't agree with this, therefore it's not good. There's this constant judgment, this constant filtering process. But even that filtering process is something you're plainly aware of right now. It is being observed. So this is what we are coming to realize, that you are able to observe without constantly judge and add to the momentum of whatever you're observing. When you observe plainly, without judgment, without description, without clinging, without resisting, it's almost like just dissolving all conflict. Because even clinging to the positive is a conflict. It is limited. It is a contracted state. And it is only that clinging to the positive which very soon turns into the resisting of the negative. They're one and the same. But to really be at peace, you must discover, uncover the ground of being, the ground of knowing, the ground of pure observing, which is transcendent of both the positive and the negative. It is love itself, shining equally on both the positive and the negative, the good and the bad. For good and bad, positive, negative are concepts in the mind, not in reality. In reality, all are just appearances, in the ground of being, in the ground of knowing. Knowing being their reality, awareness being their reality. So when you observe a negative feeling, an uncomfortable sensation, you're almost like neutralizing that experience. You're absorbing that experience of me, the body, feeling something negative into just pure being. You're absorbing the limited lenses of perception into just pure being, knowing. You are loving everything, not one by one, but being love itself. You are healing itself. And so if you're going to practice this teaching of acceptance, which requires you to observe without judgment, I would ask you to do it without the fear of, oh my God, am I going to attract more negative things and experiences and feelings? See these things as the filter itself. This dialogue arises as the filter itself. It arises as that thinking, trying to reinforce the filter, reinforce the lens of perception. Just turn away from it. It is itself a judgment that in the practice of this, you're being asked to turn away from, into the plain observation of what is. So see this. This is a notebook, right? Before it is called a notebook, which is just a label, it just is. See if you can look at this without describing it. See if you can observe it without judging it, without thinking about it. So this is my invitation to you to practice first with physical objects, because if you can't do this with physical objects, you're going to have a very difficult time doing it with subtle objects like your thoughts and emotions or feelings, sensations. See that you have the capacity to look and not describe. That you can plainly see and observe, almost like a child that doesn't have filter, that doesn't have beliefs, that doesn't have ideas, thoughts about what I'm looking at. Look so intensely that even the looker is not even a solid entity like looking at something else. It's just looking. The fact of looking. Look so plainly. And you don't have to make an effort to make this happen. It's actually already the fact of your experience. But right now we're too lost in perceptions of all of these other things that make things appear to be how they aren't. That is the illusion itself. But just see that you can plainly look. You can observe without judgment. Otherwise, usually if I ask someone on the street to observe this, they're going to be like, oh, it's a notebook. It has these little metal rings. There are a lot of lines on the notebook. Oh, I have a notebook like this. I used to have it in school, but I didn't really like this one. I actually like the other composition notebooks. Typically, I like my notebooks to be... So you see, it's just like constant talking about what is being experienced. That is reinforcing not only the filters, but also it's reinforcing the self-image, who you take yourself to be. That's for a different video, but it's constantly just talking, describing the experience. And in the same way, you would just constantly think of the past and the future as well. So now you're learning that you can be aware, you can observe without describing, without judging, without interpreting. Because describing, the judging, and the interpreting is the restlessness that you yourself want to be free from, that drives you mad, that drains you of energy. Now you're discovering that which is prior to the describing and judging. That which already is. You're not creating it. You're not coming to it or arriving at it as a destination. You're seeing that to be the starting point, where you're looking from. Even your judging and describing is happening in the looking, in the seeing, in the observing. So first you start at least practicing this with physical objects. See again and again the mind wanting to judge, and then just turn away. All you have to do is turn away. This itself will be very difficult if you don't practice any form of meditation, because you're too caught up in mind identification, so it's not going to be possible. So there has to be also a meditation practice on a daily basis. But first you do this with physical objects. Then you see that you can do this with your subtle objects like emotions, feelings. You can observe the anger without constantly feeding a story about anger. Who made you angry? Why are you angry? Why is it justified to be angry? Why it doesn't feel good? Why you shouldn't be feeling this way and all that. So that only reinforces this illusory worldview and paradigm and mindset, and continues to, right, attract to you either the negative or the positive. But when you start to come to the ground of being, the ground of knowing, you start to absorb all of this illusion into the self. Confusion is replaced with clarity. Ignorance with knowledge. Not a worldly knowledge, not a mental knowledge, but understanding, wisdom, maturity, self-knowledge. So look at it in this way. When you observe the pain so fully, without judgment, you're loving the pain. You're allowing it to become transmuted into love itself. You're absorbing the pain in love. When you observe the anger, you're absorbing the pain in love, or the anger in love. And you start to no longer be automatically get stuck in the pain, in the anger. You start becoming free of them. It's like a more expanded state of being. Again, this has to be practiced. It can't be just heard about and then thought about. It's just going to otherwise become an idea in your already existing lens of perception. So what I'm going to do for you right now is I'm going to link at the end of this video my meditation playlist, where it will walk you through exactly how to create a meditation practice, exactly what to do and why you need to do it. And it will teach you that if you're not practicing, then this will all remain conceptual for you. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to link down below in the description box my little masterclass that I have on this practice of observing without judgment. I call it my letting go masterclass. This teaching is what I refer to as acceptance. I have a playlist on it on the YouTube channel here, so you can take a look at that as well. In those resources, I take you through step by step the practice of it. A little bit we did today, of course. It's quite simple and subtle, but it does require sort of a repeated practice to really come to the understanding of it, which is not mental. So please take advantage of those resources. If you do need my personal help with this, if you want to go deeper into meditation, acceptance, self-inquiry, and awaken to your formless nature, if you want to dissolve identification with the mind and become free from suffering your experience, learn more about my School of Awakening. I'll link that down below as well. But I hope that this video brought to rest this doubt of, oh, if I observe my negative emotions, am I just going to attract more negativity or whatever? I hope this brought clarity. And now it's for you to confirm and have this now become your lived experience through practice. Take a look at all the resources that I just mentioned. I'll see you next time.